Somebody said, "Twin, where have you been?" No. But let's discuss the task at hand. We're dealing with chapter 4, dealing with what were the differences of the medieval courtly, and then I do believe we're dealing with also like the church and the chants. So if we put that in today's text, specifically, with chapter 4, I would go as far as to say it's between sacred and secular, if we're putting it in today's form. The music that happened with the chants in the church were more of your sacred side. Very rarely, it happened sometimes, but very rarely were the men and women voices ever mixed. Very rarely. If it happened, it was by exception to the rule, from my perception. As far as the sacred part of the chants of the church, it dealt with songs that normally happen in, the cathedrals, the Notre Dames, the Realm, that type, the more so of the Greek, if we can go there. Now, when it comes to the chords, to me, it's more the sacred side. It's more the secular side. Because, I mean, if we're kind of thinking about it, they dealt with like poets and like, love songs and things of that nature. You can go as far as even going with the instruments that they used. Because in the chants, they really didn't have instruments accompanying them. It was just their voices, which made it so unique because it wasn't like a tempo you can like grasp. It was like something you actually had to pay attention to, but to feel the soulfulness in. As far as music in the chords, I was going as far as say it's the secular side, specifically because of the instruments they had accompaniment. So it's like a common beat, something that can grasp your attention. Everybody, is not a fan of Taylor Swift, but her music is common. Where vice versa, everybody's not a fan of, let's just say, Karen Clark Sheard. But you know her. But the majority, it's a bad example. Or I could say gospel choirs. 9 times out of 10, some of them, ensembles, they rarely have instrumentals. But on your secular side, you normally have instruments all the time. That's just my take on it. Now, when we get to as far as where the music in the courtly, the medieval court music and how it actually was perceived, you can go to the places and where they happened. Someone wrote in the heat of battle. Some of this music was actually played like while dukes and your army sergeants, soldiers, stuff like that. Your typical everyday politicians, if we're putting it in today's terms, it's really where they gathered to listen to the good music and gossip. And that's the difference between, I think, the sacred side of what the chants and God, that's what I wanted to say. The chants and the polyphony side of music with just voices versus the courtly where it dealt with instruments as well as sound, and as well as the principles of how those songs were wrote and the feeling that came behind it. So to me, I feel like ultimately the difference, one of the biggest differences is secular, sacred. That's my take on it. Have a good one, guys.